What's new in Australia?
And, we've had kids do crazy things like buy houses before they're 18, have, $10,000 months.
How did you get into teaching kids and what exactly you teach them, like about finances and education and what takes place there?
I mean, we never had a class when I went to school on entrepreneurship or, how to buy a house or like how finances work or how to save or really any of that.
I did not think about it. That's right. You have a winter now.
For every dollar you spend, are you going to be profitable at least 3 times?
Welcome back, everyone, to Business Hats Podcast. Today I have a very special guest all the way from Australia. Ben, what time is it in Australia now?
It is 11 p.m. at night, so I'm in your future, which is kind of fun.
11 p.m. It's 10 p.m. here in Minneapolis. I love this new world we're living in. Like, internet connects everyone. You can connect pretty much with anyone. I have people I'm talking on a regular basis now who lives in Shanghai, China, and it's kind of tricky when it's on opposite side of the world when you have like 12, 13, 14-hour differences. It's night here. It's crazy. How's Australia doing today? What's new in Australia?
What's new today? I mean, it's the middle of winter, so for me, it's like a 10-degree day or something. It's about as cold as it'll get. And
well, I did not think about it. That's right. You have a winter now. 10 degrees. Yeah. Is it Celsius or Fahrenheit?
Celsius. I'm not sure. What's that like?
So 10 Celsius, it's like 50, 60. I'm from Russia, so I know Celsius. That's how I learned to measure temperature the right way, right? And now in America, everything is a little bit different. So 10. Yeah. Where in Australia are you?
So I'm in Perth, so it's like the West Coast. It's kind of like where California is in America, if that makes sense. So if you got Australia and just chucked it on top of America, we'd go pretty much East Coast to West Coast in size. Obviously, like hardly any population though. So I'd be kind of where California is on that western side. So
very cool, very cool. So welcome to Business Hats Podcast. How many business hats? How many hats in general do you wear on a regular basis? I know you have 2 businesses or 2 ventures, whatever you call them, but activities-wise, like what do you do? I know you're in marketing, but there's also business sides. Just tell us what you do.
Yeah, cool. So, basically I run the 2 businesses you just mentioned then, Dmitry. So I run Youth in Business. We teach kids how to start businesses before they finish school. That's a big passion of mine. And then we have another business teaching basically businesses how to scale with YouTube advertising, which is really fun. So, helping, pretty much every niche you could imagine. We've generated well over millions of dollars in sales which is really fun. And then actually I have a third one, which is don't usually talk about on podcasts, but I'll throw in. I actually have some mining and things that we do here in Western Australia. So I have like a mining equipment hire company, and we also started buying up mining leases and stuff and getting into gold mining and things. So I have a few different things that keep me busy. Obviously I didn't start there though.
What's your background?
Yeah, man, I grew up on a farm. Hey, so grew up on a farm. I ended up starting out as an electrician. Left school. My dad had a rule. It was like, hey, you either go to college or you get a trade. School wasn't the path for me, so I got a trade and then started some side hustles and became an entrepreneur. So that's the short story of it all.
Love it. I live in the United States. I'm from Russia, and one thing that most of the countries have in common is we don't teach our kids financing, like important stuff, right? So we don't teach them to pay bills and just general, savings money. How did you get into teaching youth? And is it the same in Australia? What kind of education system you have? Do you teach in schools kids entrepreneurship, business, stuff like that?
Not really. I mean, the Australian education system is very similar to the US or the UK, so that Western education system. So, I mean, we do, like my son, he's in high school at the moment. He had an education, like an entrepreneurship, like a unit or class, if that makes sense. And they basically get them to start a little market, they have it at the Oval. All the parents and teachers come in and they buy stuff. And but the problem with that is that they don't even get to keep the money at the end. Any profits that they make get all reimbursed into the school. So, I mean, at best, they'll learn how to like research a product maybe and start a not-for-profit, which is kind of sad. So that's probably about the best I've seen here in Australia. Like it might be different maybe in America or the UK or, Russia. I don't know. But for the most part, entrepreneurship's not really taught at schools. You're usually taught one or two things, how to become a good employee or a better soldier. And that just goes back to all the way back to Prussia, where they come up with the school system we have today. And that's literally what it was designed to do. So, I mean, we never had a class when I went to school on entrepreneurship or, how to buy a house or like how finances work or how to save or really any of that, which I think is a sad thing considering, most adults spend the majority of their lives, working for money or changing their time for money. So.
It is very sad. And if you actually study it, I mean, it makes perfect sense. If you study the schools, like I'm glad that you mentioned it. I mean, first schools, they were, by factories and, pretty much they were by people who were employing parents and kids were running around and they need them to stay in the community. So when the kids grow up, they would be employed as well. I do see the positive change. I recently have been watching actually UK history from 100 years ago, like kids laws, like, kids used to work at factories, like, and I'm talking about like 12-hour days for little kids. They've done a lot of mining because they were like little and they could go in the places like factories. I cannot imagine my kids working 12-hour shift. I mean, you ask them to do some chores and 20 minutes in, they're like, oh, we work so much, right? Like all they want to do is be on devices and stuff. But how did you get into teaching kids and what exactly you teach them, like about finances and education and what takes place there?
Yeah. So look, how it all came about is my brother and I, we did a whole bunch of business, online businesses and things, and we ended up selling a whole bunch of them off. And he went traveling and I was like, oh man, what do I do now? And my wife and I were kind of at a point where we were like, what's the next step for us, like business wise? And my son at the time, who's now 15, he was 7, I think. And he was like, oh, Dad, I want to have pocket money. And I didn't really want to do that because I was like, I don't want to teach my kids to just get something for nothing, right? My dad, like I grew up on a farm. So my dad was like, nothing is free. You have to work for everything. And I think it was just that farming work ethic. But at the same time, I wanted to sort of like teach my kids that you don't have to swap time for money, right? If you can find something that you enjoy doing and you can turn it into a business, then you can be the creator of the thing and take finances into your own hands. So what we did in the end is we started off with a little herb garden. He liked growing things, so he had a herb garden in the back, and he was a very shy kid. So I thought it'd be great for him to go door knocking and do door-to-door sales. And he'd just package them all up and then like knock on doors. And it was amazing. There's so many people who were just so nice to him. And he started a whole little business out of it. And then he was basically just get subscription orders. He'd come home from school, package them up and take them out. And then what happened was we were looking at, the possibility of just turning that into like maybe, we had heaps of people ask us how to do it. And we were like, oh, we could probably turn it into an online program. People could just come and grab the stuff and away they go. Next thing I know, I'm on stage talking about helping kids in business, and it turned into this massive thing. We were doing, events in Australia and the UK to like 700 to 800 people and kids and families at a time. And we ended up with just crazy results, like the kids, most of the kids who start, they make sales in the first, 24 hours or like first week, definitely, of getting started with business. We come up with a whole model for it. And, we've had kids do crazy things like buy houses before they're 18, have, $10,000 months. Even had one of our kids write a book like How I Made More Money Than My Principal, and I was lucky enough to write the forward. Another one of our kids is just getting interviewed to go on Shark Tank here in Australia. So it's like we've been doing it for about 7 years now, and it's just gone absolutely crazy with what the kids are able to achieve in a short amount of time.
I always tell people that kids are way smart. Like my kids are way smarter than me, and I have five. My question is, can you teach, and what can you teach, and what you cannot teach? Like some kids, I would say, were born with the financial literacy. Like they just understand. Like my son, he is 13 now, my oldest son. The guy just gets it. Like it's amazing. Like very little details will be missed by him in business. Like, for example, my sisters were coming, my daughters, his sisters were coming to him they needed quarters. And he said, like pretty much instead of changing it, he said, I'll do 3/4 for $1. That was like years ago. And I'm like, what? So I'm listening to this and they're like, you want quarters? It's 3/4 for $1. There is a price, right? And he's like that in everything. He did like this little machine when it's like a vending machine. He made it out of cardboard. He saves candies and he opens up the sale once a week. The kids, other four kids running around asking us like, Mom, can I get a quarter? Can I get $1? Why? Well, Nikita opened up, he's doing sale now. And you go there, like his brain just works like that. One time on a trip, we went on an RV trip, he bought this little rocks, jewels. He wanted only one or two of them, but he bought the entire pack and then he sold them individually to other siblings and he made more money than he paid for. So he got what he wanted and made more money. And he's like that in everything. Like, like typical kid would do here in the United States, stands with the lemonade. He's like, and he figured it out. I don't know where he learns this stuff, but he told me that there's no money in the lemonade stands and you will make way more money if you freeze popsicles. So he goes on Amazon, buys a little cheap bag, and he puts lemonade in them and freezes them on a hot day. And then this blew my mind. So he made them, and he sells them like $1.25 a piece, which is reasonable price, but way more than lemonade and easier to sell because you have like 20 of them and you carry them in your hand. So easier to carry, more profitable. And then he would go around the neighborhood, see where garage sales are, because that's where people are, comes there, stands at the garage sale, someone else's garage sale, because he figure out where attention is. And he would sell the whole pack, comes back, do more, go there. I mean, insanity. And the way he did it, he found on YouTube video, like he melts candies and that's what the juice is. So he pretty much, he puts it on the stove, throws some candies, and then the juice, that whatever the mixture is, puts in popsicles. And you cannot teach that. So my question is, what can you teach? Because if I look at my daughters, they don't have that. Can I teach what my son has to my daughters, or they have to figure out on their own?
Yeah, that's great. And I think it's very common, like, first up, like, well done, son getting out and doing that. That's really cool. And obviously he's got a positive environment to help nurture that, which is great. So that's probably the first step. Like, be okay with your kids starting business stuff. I think a lot of parents out there at the moment, they're like, oh, I don't know how to do it. So, what do we do? Yeah, but kids are great. They'll get out there and actually do it. I think for kids, a lot of them aren't motivated by money, and that's the key. So finding what the kids are motivated in is going to be the driver. So usually what we'll say, we have like a sell it before you build it model. So if you've got one entrepreneurial kid, that's great. The next, like giving him a positive outlet to get all that done is awesome. The other siblings will come along in time. Usually we'll find it's, even in my own house or just seeing lots of different families, is the other kids will look at that one kid who is entrepreneurial, who's making those sales, and like, oh, how do we have the money and the things that they have? And they don't usually connect the dots. Like, we want the outcome, we want the money that this kid's got, but we don't necessarily want to do all the work that they're doing, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know if that relates with you or not, but what we find is, like, find something they're motivated in, and something small, like under $100 or under $200 or something like that. and then say to them, look, why don't we come up with an idea, and within this first month, within a couple of weeks, you can buy this thing, but you need to figure out what you can sell to get it, right? So even within my own kids, like my son Heath, when he was little, he really wanted a electric Lego thing that he could run with his iPad and all this thing. It was a couple $100. And I don't know, as a parent, man, we've got enough Lego. We do not need any more Lego in the house. And
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, he's like, oh, can I get this thing? Now, his brother was already entrepreneurial at this point. He was like the younger sibling. And he didn't really want to go start the business, but he wanted the Lego thing, right? So I was like, well, what you need to do is, well, let's think about something that you could sell. And he came up with, he likes baking and stuff. So he was like, oh, maybe we'll do like some caramel popcorn and make some brownies. And I'll go down to my local football, where they're playing football on a Saturday, and I'll just go around and try and sell some. Now, within one morning, he'd made a couple of $100 just selling popcorn and brownies, right? And then, later on that day, we're able to go and buy the Lego thing that he wanted, right? Now, while he got the thing that he wanted, the lesson he actually learned there was, I can have anything that I want if I'm willing to find a way to do it, right? And that's the skill. Like, they don't have to always be entrepreneurial, but I think if we can teach kids like, hey, I want to get these things, this is the entrepreneurial step. I know how to generate money on my own terms. I don't have to go work for anyone else, whether it's selling icicle popcorn, like icicles that are frozen, and lemonade and lollies, and selling that, or whatever it might be. That's really, really cool.
But I like.
So I'd probably start.
Go ahead.
I'd probably start there. Like, yeah, sorry. So I'd probably start there. Like, what are they interested in? Find something small that they're interested in, and let them achieve it through business, and then the rest of it will just become a self-fulfilling prophecy from there. So,
what I like about kids is they are very, very fair, like between each other. Like I would argue that kids more fair than adults in many, many ways. Like, I look at my 5 kids, so I pay them to bag leaves every year. There's leaves in the backyard, and I tell them, like, I'll give you $5 per bag, and there are gonna be like 20, 30 bags of leaves laying around, but you have to rake it, you have to bag it. And every year I notice that 2 older, they're gonna work the most, but they watch each other's effort, and then they come to us like, no, he did not work, he was only given doing $5, and they're okay being lazy, and not, they would rather be lazy and not get paid versus like go extra effort and actually have equal pay. But they're not going to argue about it. They're like, okay, Anastasia did the most, so she's getting $30. I was the laziest, I'm getting 10. They would not split it, and they're okay with it. That's crazy thing for me to watch, because they're siblings, they love each other, but they're very fair. You work hard, you get paid. My question, though, is I have my oldest daughter, Anastasia. She's not money driven. Like, she's okay with the money. She's a saver. She's like my wife. If I buy something, it's like, why did you get it? That's why we don't have money, because you spend it. I'm a spender. My wife is a saver. And it's funny to watch it with my kids. Like, my oldest son, if I buy new truck, he's like, goodbye. Like, how much do you pay for it? Like $100K. Okay, why do you need it? I explained to him. He's like, smart. Like, good choice. Goodbye, right? And my daughter, she's opposite. She's like, why do we need it? We already have 2 of these. So, like, why do you need one more? She questions everything, but she's also in arts. Like, she is like, she likes animals, and even when we talk to her about what she's gonna do in life, she wants to be a zookeeper. So she's not dreaming about being an entrepreneur, or like my youngest son. He tells us he's going to be a trillionaire. Like, he's money driven. He wants to have billions of dollars. My oldest just wants to have, animals. She's an artist. How do you motivate an artist to create something to make a living? Because there are a lot of artists who are broke and poor because they are not money driven. Can you teach, I guess, financing and entrepreneurship an artist kid?
Yeah, 100%. So here's how you do that. We work with heaps of kids that go through this. So the money-driven kids, they're always going to be okay, and they're really happy going out selling. Usually, they're the salespeople type. Now the artist types, usually they're not money driven. So what you want to start with is, like I said before, like a small goal that they can realize, something that they want. It's usually going to be pretty conservative, whatever that thing is, right? From there, if they're not money driven, they're usually like cause driven, or like, what is it? So let's say animals, right? So she might be right into animals, but I'm sure there's probably a dog shelter or a like a cause they can get behind. And what we find works really well with those kids is having, let's say that they give 10% away of their business to some sort of charity or profit or something like that. So then it is about the money, but for them, it's actually more about the impact that they can make. So the artist type can be quite driven based off an impact. And if you can get the business to do that, that works really great. So some examples of that would be, look, two in Australia that we work with. One is a kid called Josh. He actually started a non-slip sunscreen business for surfers, right? And he's actually, because I don't know, in Australia, the sun's like a big deal. Like you get sunburn, skin cancer, it's like a big deal. So, he's come up with this non-slip sunscreen because surfers, when they put, the stuff on their hands, they slip off their board, so they don't wear sunscreen. So he's come up with this non-slip sunscreen, which is great. And he's actually left school now, and that's his full-time job. He's in I think 53 stores, like crazy.
How old is he?
I think he's 19 now. He started when he was 15 or 16 or something. So, but the thing with Josh is he actually gives, I think it's 10 or 20% of everything that sells to a charity that he cares about called Three for the Sea. Basically, they go around and they fix all the ocean, Great Barrier Reef, and a lot of the oceans cleanup stuff here, right? Which is really important to him. Yeah, so he gives, I think 10 to 20% of everything that he sells, or every thing of sunscreen goes to his charity. And that's been really great to motivate him. And we've, that whole cause-related marketing is fantastic because the media then get behind the kids, and, their businesses explode way more, and they get recognition for that. So it might not be the money that motivates the kid, the children is kind of my point here. It's if you can get them to be part of, something that they believe in, they'll work if they're not money motivated, they will be usually cause motivated, particularly for the artist types or the, those that are more into changing the world than, being the entrepreneur, if that makes sense. So that's a really good way to join those two together is have some sort of cause that they can get behind as well.
Very cool. Well, let's move on to your second business. Is that your biggest business, YouTube ads? Is that what makes you the most money?
Yeah, I think so. That or the mining, I think. But yeah, the YouTube ads is pretty much where the majority of the income comes in. The youth in business, at the moment, we just want to be able to help as many kids as we can. So we kind of price that as low as we can to make sure people do it and get really cool results with it. And then the main business for me at the moment is what I do with YouTube ads and just helping businesses grow and scale with YouTube, which is really fun.
Do you make money? Explain to me the program. Do you monetize the program with the kids too? Do you make money? How do you get paid? And what's the business model there?
Yeah, so for youth in business, we have an online program at the moment that we're running. Prior to COVID, we were actually doing big groups of kids, and we do a full year mentorship in entrepreneurship, and we do really cool things we'd go do masterminds and boot camps with the kids and get experts in from every field, and we'd always do one big trip. So prior to COVID, we were actually taking the kids to China, taking them to the wholesale markets, letting them understand how that side of things work, and just exposing them to everything business. I mean, that's what we were doing prior to COVID. Since COVID come along, we made it more online, so it's more of an online experience now. But we have a community. The kids, each month we're live. We answer any questions. We have a challenge that we kick off. It's actually really cool. The first challenge we get the kids to do is a $20 challenge. So if they've got no business experience, they just start with $20 and they have to turn that into as much money as they can in a month. And most of the kids are doing, well over $1,000. We have what's called a 1K club. It's just a ridiculous amount of kids that have gone through that. And it's really cool because they learn that if they're down to their last $20, they can literally turn that into money no matter what, right? And if we could teach every young kid there'd be no more homeless, right? Like it's probably our most passionate thing that we teach kids. So that's like step one.
Cool.
And we have a whole bunch of training and stuff as well. But no, that is for profit, but it basically just runs the marketing and gets more people in and that sort of thing. Like it's not a high margin profit business, if that makes sense. So
Of course, can't make too much money off kids.
no.
Maybe of their parents.
Yeah.
I would pay someone to teach my kids, at least some of my kids, business. And my 7-year-old Max just came to me and said, "Dad, what's investment?" And I explained it to him. And then after I explained to him what investment is, he came to me, he's like, "What can I buy that increases value?" And then he came to me and he said, like, "So investment is where you spend money to make money." I'm like, "Yes, sir." And he goes like, "Well, what can I buy to make more money?" Like, the little brain just works, right? And they just wire differently. Like with the YouTube, with social media, they exposed to so much information. They can find answer to any question, but they also need mentors. Like they need someone to navigate them. I call us sandwich generation. I have to teach my kids how to do this, how to operate in how not to scroll all day, but how to become content creator, and not a consumer, but actually like producer of the content, because it goes two-way street, right? But I also have to teach my parents how to use it. So we're a sandwich generation. We're the first generation that exposed to it, but now we have to teach second generation and previous generation how to also adapt. Sometimes I look at what my parents are doing. I'm like, "That can't do that. Like, put it down." It's dangerous. So I'll pay someone to educate my kids and teach my kids, and I think it's very cool what you do, man. Let's talk about YouTube. What works on YouTube? What kind of ads you create? How do you create an ad that people will not scroll and skip? Because YouTube skips a lot of videos, and how YouTube is changing, in general with the YouTube ads. I mean, we see them all the time. I actually don't know a lot of people who are doing or specializing in YouTube ads. What someone needs to know about YouTube ads, how it's different from Facebook ads, for example.
Yeah, so there's a few things there. I guess let's just go with how is it different from Facebook ads? That's a great question. So Facebook and YouTube are about the same size in terms of users. There's probably about a 5 or 10% difference in it, depending on which month you look at it, right? So they're similar size. The big difference is, though, only 8% of businesses at the moment are doing YouTube ads.
How many?
Whereas I think it's 8% in the US are doing YouTube advertising at the moment. Whereas on Facebook, I think it's like 80-something% of marketers are doing some form of Facebook ads.
Why do you think is that? Is it because Facebook is easier, or like why so many advertise there and not so many in YouTube?
Yeah, I think because obviously being able to just put an image ad up and a tiny little bit of content is a whole bunch different to creating a video ad, right? That's one reason. The other reason is YouTube ads haven't really been around as long as Facebook ads. That like in terms of adoption and people using the platform and growing. So if you go back in time, like I think all of these ad platforms have what's called an adoption curve. So at the beginning, everyone gets in and then they start to get more saturated and then it goes over into the laggard section, right? So when Facebook was new, I think they gave out like $75 when you first created your first ad account, you spent $75 or something like that. This is going back like a decade, right? Now, the cool thing is like with YouTube and Google ads at the moment, they're literally giving $500 worth of free ad credit when you create an account and connect it up and away you go with YouTube ads, right? So that's kind of the difference at the moment is people are just starting to get onto it. The other thing too is go back another decade before Facebook ads and it was all Google search ads, right? So everyone was doing Google search ads. They were super cheap. Everyone got in on it. The soup started to get super expensive. Everyone went to Facebook ads and now they're going to YouTube ads. And, maybe another 5 to 10 years, it might be everyone moving more mainstream into TikTok ads. Who knows, right? So that's just the way the platforms work. So that's probably one big difference. The other difference is the targeting. So who you can target is really important. So on Facebook, for example, you can you can target with what we call genuine interest targeting. It's just that top layer. And this is where a lot of people go wrong, is they take what's working on Facebook ad, they'll get like on Facebook, they get like a salesy interruptive ad, because you've got to get in front of people while they're scrolling and interrupt them. And then they bring that over onto YouTube and they take the targeting that was working on Facebook, they run YouTube ads, and they're like, man, YouTube ads just don't work. And that's usually where people give up. But the problem is they haven't really adopted the full targeting options of YouTube. And this is what we see like every day. And I'd say the big difference with YouTube is people come to YouTube for a different reason than they come to Facebook. So people are going to come to Facebook for, scroll through, they're burning time. You go to YouTube, you want to be entertained or educated in some way. And, you might even be searching for something because it's got search attached to it. And so it's a different intent. So what you want to do is, if you're going to create an ad on YouTube, obviously it has to be video, but the actual ad, they work heaps better if you could actually help people in the ad, right? I think Frank Kern said it best: if you want to help people, actually help them. And the cool thing with a YouTube ad that actually adds value or helps people, you get a way better click to your website or to your offer, or to whatever it is, right? So they're just a couple of the main differences. I think probably from there, it's about how you structure your ad. So once you've got that bit sorted out, the structure of the ad usually comes in about 4 parts. But the targeting, I'll come back to that later. The targeting, we have this thing called credit card out targeting. So how do you imagine if you could literally get to your clients right now when they had their credit card out ready to buy? So the cool thing with that is what you can do with YouTube that you just can't do with Facebook is you can target 2 extra levels. So we've got that first level, that genuine interest. The first level is going to be, hey, I want to target 35-year-old women who like surfing, cats, and chocolate, right? And I want to sell them a little miniature cat that's surfing, that's made out of chocolate, right? So that's what I want to sell them. You could literally do that on Facebook right now, okay? Target that exact demographic. Now on YouTube, you can do the same thing, but that's just that top layer of targeting, right? That we're all really familiar with. The next thing that we want to do is find those people. And then on YouTube, what you can do is you can go, right, I actually only want to show my ads to people who can afford my products. So this is where you can target income. So now you've got people who are interested. What you can do next is target people who can actually afford it. So this is going to be, hey, I want to target mums that maybe earn over 50 grand a year because this is really expensive chocolate cat. And I only want to deal with maybe the top 10 or 20% of income owners. So you have that person who's interested, maybe top 20% of income owners. Now, the thing why that's so important is because in any sales process, probably the biggest objection most people get is, that sounds really great, but I just can't afford it right now. So if you can just add in the can they afford it piece into the arrangement, like your ads are going to convert heaps better, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. It does.
So the next thing that you want to do is, after you've got, the genuine interest in the targeting, is layer that down one step further by intent. Now, this is where YouTube ads get super crazy. It's probably got the best targeting on the planet because you can target based on the actions that people are taking. So now that we've figured out who they are, they have money on their credit card, now it's time to actually target people with their credit card out looking to buy, right? That's why I call our credit card out targeting. Now, some cool things you can do here is, because Google owns YouTube, you can literally target people who are searching things in Google. So let's say I'm searching for, I don't know, awesome tea thermos, right? Price. I'm typing that in, bang. When I go to YouTube, I see an ad that's got exactly that thing. So now you're actually able to target people at the right time. Okay, so you've got genuine interest, income targeting at the right time. And that's where you can come in with search. So search is one way to do it, like Google search or YouTube search. The other cool thing that you can do, which I don't think you can do anywhere else, is ethically hijack your competitors' traffic. And this is where it gets really fun. So the cool thing with YouTube is it's owned by Google. So Google knows everything about you, right? Like, they know what websites you visit, anything with Google Analytics. They know what you're buying online, where you are, what apps you have on your phone. what emails you've got in Gmail. They can literally work out heaps of data on you. And this is why Google and YouTube aren't so affected by the iOS update. That makes sense, because they literally have all the data. It's absolutely crazy. So what they can do then is they've got this targeting option in YouTube ads where you can actually target people who visit certain websites. So what you can do there is pick your top 5 competitors. If anyone goes to their website, you can then, when that person goes onto YouTube, show them your ad. That's perfectly legal. Like, people get to set up this. It's just clever targeting, right? Yeah. So you're totally allowed to do that. So we call that ethically stealing your competitors' website traffic. Now that's really cool, but not only if you're just doing your competitors' websites, but what are the top 5 industry websites in your space? Or even better, what's the login page? So we'll target people who do like certain CRMs, like different types of software, but we're actually interested in the users, not just the people visiting the site. So what we can do is we can target people who log into softwares like ClickFunnels, HubSpot, Salesforce, because we know that there are, if you're logging into those CRMs, chances are you're probably a better quality business client for us. So that's sort of like a bit of a hack that you can do there. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. The other thing that you can do with targeting your competitors on YouTube that you can't do anywhere else is target any YouTube channel or any YouTube video. So pick the top 5 or 10 YouTube videos in your space, put your ad on them, okay? Or go one step further, pick a whole channel. So if you're like, maybe you're a coach or an expert or something like that, or you're just into wanting to target people who are interested in business, you could literally target some people like maybe Tony Robbins or Grant Cardone or Marie Forleo, or like insert your, these guys that create all this time and effort creating these big channels, and you can just literally chuck your ad on any of the users watching their content. So I think like comparing Facebook to Google or YouTube ads in terms of targeting and what you can actually do would be like comparing, Godzilla versus Bambi, and Facebook isn't the Bambi in this equation. So,
well, how and where someone can learn YouTube? Like, does YouTube teach us how to do ads? What's the best school or course to learn all of this so business can do it themselves, or do they need a marketer who specializes in it?
Yeah, I think, look, you could probably go figure out a few things. In terms of us having to figure it out, we've just, spent years and years putting it together. We give away a whole bunch of free resources though. So like how to script your ads is probably a great way to get started. We give a whole bunch of training away on that. We have a whole course on how you can do this stuff that we give away for free, because we're not actually looking to work with every client. We only really want to work with a select amount of clients who probably already have some stuff figured out. So the more that we can help people get there, the better. So we give away a whole bunch of free training on all of this. You got to be careful with the Google reps. So if you're using Google, like when you start a Google account or a YouTube account, they're actually going to tell you to do certain things, and they're not very good. Okay, so the reason is, and we've actually, one of the marketers that is on our team now, she used to be one of these people in the early days, okay? And they basically get paid a commission on if they can get you to spend more ad budget, whether it's working or not. So if they ring you up and they can say, oh, hey, do this type of campaign or that, or increase your budget here or spend more money there, they actually get a bonus on that, whether you get results or not. So, which I don't know how ethical that is, but that's literally the business model behind it. So you've just got to be careful. Like, if a Google rep's telling you to do something, I'd be maybe doing some research on what they're telling you. And even if you just, go and have a look at Google or other things about what they're trying to tell you, you'll probably find that in most of the time, they're probably not to your advantage. So I'd just be really mindful of that. But yeah, so I mean, like obviously nothing beats just getting in there and trying is the first step. I think, everyone gets hung up in terms of learning. I just get it, like literally they're going to give you $500 worth of free YouTube ad credit when you spend $500. So I mean, even if you just got started with $20 a day or $10, $15 a day or something, you ran it for a month or two, you'll learn heaps by doing that. Yeah, you'll probably spend a bit of money, but it's that age-old question, like, how do you learn to ride a bike? You can read about it, you can watch YouTube videos about it all day long, right? But until you actually get in there and actually start doing it, you're not really going to learn much. I mean, if you've got someone there to hold the bike for you as you go, then that makes life easier too, right? So
That's so true. And my 7-year-old is trying to learn the bike. It's the only kid that I have who does not know how to ride a bike. It's funny you brought it up because I'm frustrated. Like, I'm not teaching you. And I actually told him, go watch YouTube videos, uh, some tutorials, because he's watching like Minecraft and stuff. Like, Max, you have all resources. Go figure out how to learn, because he gets on the bike and he just falls on one side. Like, he doesn't know how to do. He's a balanced kid. He does everything else well. And I'm like, you know what? I don't have patience for this. You will have to figure out on your own. Do you know how to teach a son to do the bike? Okay, come and teach my son how to ride a bike. Anyway, I ran with him. We've done it all. He just does not get it. The moment he gets in it, like does 2-3 feet, he just falls on the side. I'm like, I quit. I quit. You go figure it out, just like you said. You just have to ride a bike until you learn how to ride a bike.
yeah, some people are going to fall over more than others, right? So, but yeah, there's no YouTube video for it. I mean, in a certain extent, like having someone help you and guide you and whatever is cool. But yeah, you just getting on there and giving it a shot, I guess. So
my favorite marketing quote is, I will butcher the author name, but it goes like, half of the money I spend on marketing is wasted. The problem is I don't know which half. So like, I think with YouTube, with Google, it's fair. Like, you have to spend the money. You have to, see what works, what doesn't work, but that's how you learn. And instead of just wasting money on, like in the United States, we have pretty big problem with marketers who take money per month and they don't deliver results. They don't even tell you what they're spending on. Like, they'll charge like $5,000 a month on SEO package or ads package. And if you really dig in, oftentimes they don't do crap. They'll do like the craziest one I recently just encountered, or actually canceled account with one of my students. They were paying $5,000 a month. Their management fee was $4,000 and their marketing budget was $1,000. I mean, think about that. Like, you charging $4,000 to manage a campaign. No wonder you're not getting results. But it's very common in the United States, unfortunately. Is it common in Australia?
yeah, it is very common, and it actually really annoys me that people do it. And the first thing you need to work out, I don't care what you're marketing. I don't care if you're using Facebook, whether you're using YouTube, whether you're using whatever, any sort of like pay-per-click marketing. You need to work out if you're going to get a minimum max, like you need to be over 3 times return on ad spend. So for every dollar you spend, are you going to be profitable at least 3 times? Now that's really key. And the way that you work that out is you're like, look, if I'm spending something, if it costs me say $50 to get a sale, like my cost per acquisition is $50, I need to be selling something for at least sort of $150 or $200 to make that work, right? And if you're not, then you're not ready for paid marketing. Okay.
Right.
And that's the first step. So the very first thing we do is when people come to us is we'll be like, look, the first thing you need to do is work out if you can get a 3 times return on ad spend. And we actually have like marketing calculators that we run people through. And we'll be like, look, if you're spending this much or that much or whatever, you need to be able to it needs to work. Like your clicks, you can work out what your clicks cost, right? And again, we give these calculators away for free. So you can literally just go in. Here's a simple way of doing it. How much does a click cost? Well, what does my landing page or my sales process convert at? And how much does it cost for me to acquire that client, right? And the number one thing you need to know is how much is it going to cost me to acquire the client? If you don't know that, then you need to work out like, well, a click in my industry is going to cost, or on YouTube is going to cost $3 or $4, something like that, or $2 or $1, whatever it is. Okay, I know that my landing page is going to convert at 10%. So it's going to cost me, $10 to $30 for a lead. I know that if I've got 5 or 10 leads, I can make one sale, and one sale is worth, I don't know, $1,000, right?
Sure.
And then from there, if you can get a 3 times return on ad spend, then you can go spend money on marketing. The problem is that the whole industry, the marketing industry right now, is just full of people who will take your money even though they know that you're not going to be profitable with paid ads. And to me, that, I don't know how they sleep at night. It's just totally unethical. Right?
I agree.
So
Could not agree more.
You need to, even if you're a business owner just listening to this, the number you need to know, guys, is 2 numbers. What does it cost me for a sale? What's my cost per acquisition? And what is my return on ad spend? So for every dollar I spend, how much revenue or profit does that turn into? Right? Now, if you're e-com and you're selling some smaller stuff, then you might be okay with a 2 times return on ad spend. But if you're a service-based business, I don't care what service-based business you are, you need to be at 3 times return on ad spend, or don't use that marketing platform. Because I can tell you right now, maybe search is too expensive for you right now because there's, you're a software company and they're charging you $70 to $80 clicks, or you're a lawyer and they're charging like $80 clicks or something, sure, right? It just doesn't work, right? But, go do YouTube ads where they're half the price or a third of the price of what search is, or go do, I don't really care if you go to TikTok or Facebook or wherever, right? Run lead ads on Facebook if you want, but you need to get that cost per acquisition down to where you're profitable, and then look at a marketing strategy, and go from there. So,
thank you so much for all the information. It's someone who listened today probably going to have unfair advantage for a little bit. I mean, you were very generous with the information. Thank you so much for sharing your story.